Hi everyone, I'm Mrs. Kenny, one of the counselors at Heartland High School. In this video, we'll go over what you need to know as a 10th grader getting ready to make your course selections for 11th grade. So we start that process today with you watching this video in your English classes. And then tomorrow in first hour, you will receive your yellow 11th grade course selection sheet, which we're going to go over in this video. You'll work with your core teachers tomorrow in math, science, English, and social studies to make your your selections for those classes for next year. And then you will complete the course selection sheet on your own time with the assistance of your parents or guardians. You will return that course sheet back to your English teacher no later than January 26th after you've entered your course requests into Student Connect. And then finally, in February, you will have an individual meeting with your counselor to review those course selections to make sure that everything makes sense for you as you move toward your progress for graduation. So today I'm going to spend the majority of the video walking you through how you'll fill out your course sheet tomorrow. Everything that I reference is going to be available to you on the Heartland High School Counseling website, and so I'm going to start by showing you around that website. So once you're at heartlandhighschool.us/counseling, you'll be able to access all sorts of information regarding scheduling specifically. So on the left-hand side, you've got the scheduling options, and we're going to spend the first part of this in this section. The course sheets are posted here along with a couple of other handouts that I will review. I'm going to start with the course sheet. We'll kind of walk through step by step how to fill that out, and then we'll talk about getting those requests entered into Student Connect. We'll talk about shared time and some other options for you next year. So this is what you'll get tomorrow. Obviously yours will be copied on yellow paper, but this is the 11th grade course sheet. So we're going to start by walking through the 4 core classes, and then we'll talk about how you wrap up filling out this course sheet. The first decision that you have to make is for English. As a reminder, for graduation purposes, you need 4 years of English. And so next year you'll choose between either English 11A and B or AP Language and Composition. Regardless of which one you choose, that'll be 1 credit of English for 11th grade. And so you will work with your current English 10 teacher for placement into one of these 2 classes. That teacher will sign off in the box next to the one that you guys agree on. And then I encourage you to circle the credit value here. That will just help you with the math down at the bottom as you go along. So again, it'll be 1 credit, whether it's English 11A and B or AP Language and Composition. So the second box is social studies, and I'm going to spend more time talking about this one because econ can get a little bit confusing. So your 11th grade social studies requirement is half a credit of American government and then half a credit of econ. And so government, you might take just the regular semester-long class, or you might opt to take AP US Government and Politics. That's a year-long course that will satisfy that graduation requirement as long as you finish the entire class. So you can't be an AP Gov for a semester and then come out of the class. That won't finish the requirement. So just keep that in mind. But you will opt for one of those 2 classes for government, and those are your only 2 choices. Now, when we get to econ, this is where you need to pay careful attention, okay, so that you understand the decision that you're making. So you need half a credit of economics to graduate high school. You can just take econ, half a credit, done. You might have already taken marketing or plan to take marketing. The way to have your marketing count for econ is to either pass the econ test that you can take while you're in marketing, and some of you might have already done that, or you can take marketing plus a social studies elective, and that can count for econ. So if you take marketing and pass the econ test out, then you'll have econ right on your transcript as test out credit. If you don't pass that test, then you'll have marketing, and then you'll take a social studies elective at some point, or maybe you already have. And then with those 2 things together, you just sort of have econ waived per se. I'm going to scroll down and show you the social studies electives that you have to choose from. So on the back side, under the social studies area in the top right, anything from sociology down, except for AP Gov Yes, all of these other classes would count for social studies elective. So maybe you took history of sports in America in 9th grade. You could count that plus marketing and have your econ already taken care of. So that is how that works. The other option for econ is to take personal finance. Now that is out of the business department right here. So you might have already taken finance, or you might opt to take finance instead of econ. That's fine. But to have that count for your econ credit, since it's a business class, you have to also take a social studies elective. So again, these are your options. So sociology down. So I'm going to review that one more time so that we're all on the same page here. So for your econ credit, you can take econ. You can take marketing and pass the econ test out. You can take marketing plus a social studies elective if you don't pass that econ test, or you can take finance plus a social studies elective. And that social studies elective does not have to be in the same semester or even the same year that you do marketing or finance. It just has to be in your 4 years of high school. So some of you might want to go that route but not have room for the social studies elective in 11th grade, and that's okay. You can take that class in 12th grade, and that will work out just fine. Okay, I'm going to move on to science. I hope that that econ explanation makes sense to you, but if you have questions, please reach out to your counselor. Okay, so next is science, and you will be likely finishing up the science requirement that you have to do for graduation in 11th grade. So the science traditional sequence is biology, and then earth science, and then chemistry or physics. So please remember that you can take chemistry or physics. You don't have to do both. That's one thing that students get tripped up on sometimes. So if you're in earth science this year, for example, you'll work with that teacher to discuss placement into one of these classes for next year. Some of you might be sort of advanced in your science sequence already, and that's okay, but just keep in mind that we do require 3 years of science in high school. And so your science teacher that you have right now will sign off next to the class that you guys agree on. You'll circle the credit value next to whatever that is, and then we will move on to math. So your math sequence for graduation is Algebra 1, and then either geometry or honors geometry, and then Algebra 2 or honors Algebra 2. Some of you might be further along than that, but probably the majority of you will be picking one of these top 2 classes with the assistance of your geometry teacher. Those of you who are further along, you'll work with your current math teacher to discuss placement for 11th grade math. Okay, the next one is world language. We put it up here just because we'll need a teacher signature for appropriate placement. Some of you may or may not be taking your language next year, though. You might already have it done. So if you are opting to continue your language or you haven't finished your required 2 years yet, you'll use this box here. It'll be 1 credit. You'll get your teacher signature and you'll indicate which class that is here. Like I said, most of you have already completed the 2 years that are required, and remember that they have to be 2 years of the same language. So you can't do like French 1 and Spanish 1. It has to be French 1 and French 2. But please make sure you're getting the appropriate teacher signature if you are moving on in your language. Okay, so let's count up so far. We probably have 4 credits, maybe 5, depending on our language. So you're going to be doing somewhere between 2 and 3 credits, most likely, of electives in this area. So as a reminder, you'll be using the back side of your course sheet to finish making your selections. And so you need to make sure that down here you've got 7 credits. So you do not fill up every single one of these lines unless you need to, right? So once you get to 7 credits, you stop. And then this box over here on the right, from English down to electives, this is going to be your ideal perfect world 7 credits that you would take in 11th grade. Please, please carefully select the electives that you are writing down. I have a couple things I want to make note of here. First of all, if you fill out your course sheet identical to your BFF, that does not mean you will have classes with them. And so that's not a good idea, because then you might find yourself in a class that you don't really want and not with your friend. So it's not going to serve the purpose that you were hoping it would serve. We need you to be picking classes that you're excited about, that you're interested in, so that you're happy with your schedule come August and come January of next year. That being said, if you're looking at the back of the course sheet and you're not sure what some of these classes entail or what they're all about, we want you to be using the curriculum guide. All right, so that's the next thing I'm going to show you. I'm going to pop back to the Heartland High School website and show you how to find the curriculum guide. So once you're at the scheduling website, you will actually click course description and curriculum guide over here on the left-hand side. We'll bring you to a different page. And then right here is where you'll be able to click and access the curriculum guide. Now, I know that this can be a huge, daunting, overwhelming document. It's 80 some odd pages, but we really encourage you to be using it to your advantage. So every single department has a first page grid that goes over the classes within that department, which grade levels can take it, and what the prerequisites are. I'm going to pop to a different one. These are the applied tech classes here in our building, for example. So you'll be able to read course descriptions and see which classes you're eligible to take. So every year, at the beginning of every semester, we'll have a student sit in a class for a few days, then they come down and beg us to get out of the class. Because maybe they didn't know that it was going to require X, Y, and Z, or it just wasn't what they expected. And oftentimes that's an indication that the student didn't read the course description for that class, because it's something that was included in this document. And so it's super important that you're reading the descriptions for every class. Even if you are like really sure you're going to love Art Studio, make sure that you've read it so that you're certain. And if the course description in the curriculum guide's not super helpful, then I'll have you pop back to the website. The same place that you got the curriculum guide, if you scroll down a bit, you'll find some description videos. So these have been created by the teachers who teach them, and I know some of them have students who have kind of spoken about what they do in the class, and so these can be really helpful. They're sorted by department as well, so not every class has one, but you might be able to find some more information directly from the teacher, from students who've taken those classes here on this website. So please, please, please use the curriculum guide and use our course description videos. All right, let's come back to the course selection sheet. We'll finish filling this out, and then I'll talk to you about shared time, okay? So once you have your perfect 7 credits over here, we're gonna have you pop over to alternates and rank order 6 more classes. As you know, this is really important that you pick 6 more classes that you would be happy taking, and that even the very last one that you write down is a class that you'd be okay if you end up in it. We only use alternates out of necessity. So let's say a class that you've picked over here is conflicting with another class that you're taking, or it fills up, or it's not offered due to low interest. Your counselor will then pull your course sheet and start at the top and try to use an alternate instead. And so please know that we're not ever using alternates because we're out to get you or anything, but it's out of necessity. I also want to note how important it is that your alternates are 6 unique classes. Sometimes, I don't know if the students are just confused or if they're trying to work the system or something, but they'll have their 4 classes that they write here, and then those are also their top 4 alternates. Well, that's not helpful if the computer wasn't able to make it work. And so I pull your course sheet, in your top 4 alternates are classes that you wrote down in your electives box, then that means I'm going to be working with your 5th choice alternate. So please make sure you're writing 6 different classes over here on the right-hand side. If you aren't filling that course sheet out thoroughly, then you will be leaving it up to your counselor to pick classes for you. And I know you don't want to find yourself in that position. We don't want to be left picking classes for you. So please fill this out completely and fill it out carefully. Okay, the notes box might be something that you use. Your counselor might make notes in this box when you meet in February, but let's say you plan to apply to a shared time program, or you want to take an online class or try to test out of something. If there's anything that you kind of want to make note of, feel free to write that in the notes box. Okay, so the next thing I'll talk about is share time. Let's just finish up the last step you're going to do with this course sheet. So you're going to sign, your parent or guardian will sign, and then we ask that you put your phone number. I just want to explain why we have you put your phone number really quickly. So you guys leave on the last day of school and your summer vacation starts, but your counselors are still here working on your schedules for next year. If we run into an issue or a conflict and we want your input on fixing that problem, since you're not in the building, we need to be able to give you a call. So please do put your phone number here in case we find ourselves in that position. All right, once you have this filled out, you're going to go to Student Connect. You're going to load the 7 credits over here. You are not going to load your alternates, okay? I want to stress it because I can't stress it enough that you should not skip this step. We need you to load your 7 credits in there so that when we meet in February, we can spend that time having valuable conversation with you, not entering classes into MyStar. And that you need to make sure that you're entering 7 credits. If you do plan to apply to shared time, you cannot include that in your boxes over here, okay? So if you're hoping to apply to HealthVoc or culinary or the fire program, do not write that in this box here, in the elective box, okay? That program has an application and you may not get into it, or you might change your mind, in which case we need to know about which classes you want to have here in this building, okay? So I'm going to pop over to the instruction sheet for how to enter your classes in Student Connect. So you'll find the instruction sheet right here above the course selections. This is the online scheduling instruction sheet. This walks you through how to log into Student Connect and enter your requests. 2 things I want to note. You need to make sure that you hit save at the end so that those classes actually go in there, and you need to triple check that it equals 7 credits. Make sure that you're clicking carefully. Sometimes we'll have students maybe put in like Algebra 1 when they meant to put in Algebra 2. And obviously that would be a pretty big error to have. Down here at the bottom, we've made another reminder that you should not load shared time into Student Connect. You actually won't be able to load shared time because they're not going to pop up as options for you, but you can't include that in your math, okay? It's important that you've entered these course requests into Student Connect prior to January 26th when you turn your course sheet in. Since you turn your course sheets in, you might want to take a picture of that or scan and email a copy to yourself, since once you turn it in, we do keep it. But if you wanted record of that, you could definitely do it that way. Okay, quickly, I'm going to talk to you about VPA courses, and that handout is available here, and then we'll look at the additional course offerings. Many of you probably already have your VPA satisfied. You need to have 1 credit of visual performing arts credit for graduation. And like I said, oftentimes students end up selecting a credit worth of VPA without trying to select VPA. They've just selected classes that satisfy that requirement. It isn't really until like this time next year, if you're an 11th grade or going into 12th grade and you haven't done VPA, that I'm going to show you this page and say, please pick something that counts for VPA. If you're curious if you've satisfied it though, this is where you can find that. On the back side, you'll see some of our shared time programs do satisfy the VPA requirement. These are going to be all classes where you create something or like use your hands is how I think of it. So band, choir, art, and then any other like hands-on type classes will count for VPA. All right, now we're looking at the additional course offerings handout, which is posted on the scheduling website. So these are classes that are new to Heartland High School next year. So you might consider these as elective options. Technical writing, CAD design elements, grammar, passion project would all be classes that you could take next year. Real estate and insurance licensing prep is going to be a class new for seniors next year. So that would be one that you could look at later. Some of our choir names are changing, so that's indicated on the bottom. It's the second page that I really want to draw your attention to. Next year, you'll have the first opportunity to possibly take some blended courses. Blended is an online class. Well, it's partially online, partially face-to-face. It's taught by a Heartland teacher. So the idea is that you have access to your Heartland teacher every single day, but you might only be required to be in class like 1 or 2 days a week. And then, so it's going to be your first or your 7th hour. And then we have taught blended versions of English 11, American Government, and then English 12 in the past. So this totally depends on the interest level to see if we run it. If we don't have enough students to run a section of Government or English 11, then it won't happen. If you're interested in blended, you won't be able to put that in the computer because there is like an approval process to get into blended, but it is something that you can write on your course sheet, maybe in that notes section or next to your English selection that you make, and you should definitely bring it up with your counselor when you meet in February. DEEP is something that you might have heard of, and this is a dual enrollment partnership with U of M Flint that seniors have the opportunity to take advantage of. So that's explained there. And then CTE, Career and Technical Ed Options. So you are in the position of being able to apply to some of these shared time programs next year. Some of these shared time programs feed into what's called the Livingston County Early College. And so if one of these early colleges or like one of these pathways interests you, you should definitely consider applying to a shared time program because that's the sequence, and talking to your counselor about what that would look like. So the general idea for the early college is that you do shared time in 11th grade, and then in 12th grade, you're taking college classes and the district is footing the bill. And then you do an extra year of high school. It's called your 13th year. And in that year, you are doing more college classes. You're never at Heartland High School, but we are paying the bill. And then you finish high school with an extra year, but you've also got your college credential as well. It's a great opportunity for somebody who is really interested in one of these pathways and committed and ready for the college coursework. So that's the early college pathway. And if you open up this document from the website, this link is active. It will take you to the early college website so you can learn more about it. Then the shared time programs, you can do a shared time program and not the early college. So that might be more up your alley. These are hands-on. Oftentimes they lead to a certification or the ability to sit for a credential after you finish the coursework. And so you can see here which programs are available. And again, this link is active, so you can click here to learn about those programs. There is an application that I will show you how to access next. So keep in mind, these shared time programs are going to be 3 hours of your day. So you'll spend 4 hours at the high school, and then you'll have 3 hours. You'll have an hour of travel and lunch, and then 2 hours at the other high school. They will either be scheduled first thing in the morning or scheduled in your afternoon. So back on the scheduling website, if you scroll down underneath course selection, you'll see shared time information. So this is the application link to apply to a shared time program. This is a 2-step process. Once you open up this Google form and fill it out, you'll have your name on the list to have applied for the program, and then all students who fill this application out by the deadline will also receive a piece of paper probably mid-March to take home and get signed by a parent as sort of like parent permission to take that program. We find out in like mid to late April who got into these programs, and so you'd be notified at that time. So what would happen is, I'm going to pop back to the course sheet and show you. Let's say you have applied to a shared time program and I find out in mid-April that you got in. I'm going to pull your course sheet, and it's super helpful if you've made some notes on your course sheet about what you want to do. So over here in the notes box, and when you meet with your counselor in February, you can make some notes with them. You would write like, oh, I've applied to the culinary program, and then you can mark the classes that you want to keep if you get into culinary, or you could mark the classes that you want to drop if you get into culinary. And so you're probably going to want to like keep English, keep science, keep math, and then possibly social studies, possibly an elective, depending on your language, band, choir, stuff like that. But what we'll do in April is pull your course sheet and make those adjustments on your behalf. And so that's when that change is made in your schedule. And that's why you have to have entered your 7 credits for Heartland High School. Okay. I want to note a couple other things about the early college, since it is your grade who would be going through this process of applying to share time and potentially the early college. If you do opt to do the early college program, you are still considered like part of your graduating class in the sense that you get to do all those senior activities in your planned senior year. So prom, walking at graduation and all of that stuff. You just don't get your diploma until the next year. So in like the graduation program, there'd be like an asterisk next to your name that would say you're in the early middle college as an indicator for that. But you do still get to participate in every other senior activity. I want to also come back and note a couple of things that you might be writing in your electives box. So if you haven't taken health yet, I would hope that we can get that out of the way in 11th grade. Just rather than having to wait until 12th grade. So keep in mind other graduation requirements that you might not have satisfied. We might want to be doing those next year. If you haven't done PE yet, maybe you thought you were going to do 3 seasons of a sport, maybe you thought you were going to do 3 years of band and band camp, and that has since changed. We definitely want to get PE in 11th grade. You do not want to take that PE class as a senior. And then lastly, if there have been any classes in 9th grade or first semester of 10th grade that you haven't passed and you need to recover those classes, then you would write that here as an elective. So if you didn't pass English 9A, you might repeat that for next year, okay? Okay, so the last things that I want to note or remind you of, please fill out your course sheet carefully and print neatly so that we can read it. Make sure that you have entered everything into Student Connect prior to January 26th when you turn your course sheet back into your English teacher. Again, triple check your math so that you've equaled 7 credits on that left-hand side, and make sure you're using the curriculum guide to be making good decisions for yourself. Lastly, if between now and the end of the school year you have a change of heart and there's either something that you've signed up for that you don't want to take anymore, or vice versa, you've heard of a class or you've had an epiphany and there's something else that you do want to sign up for, then we have a lot of flexibility between now and the end of the school year. You just reach out to your counselor via email or pop down and see us, and we can make adjustments up until the last day of school. Once you leave this building in May, you are set in stone. What we do with your course requests, we take all of the requests that you guys enter into the computers, and we try to build a master schedule that offers what you have asked for. And so up until the last day of school, we can do some flexibility with that. Once you leave, we're working with a really tight master schedule, and we don't have the flexibility to be making adjustments when you come back in August. That's why it's so very important that you do this process carefully and that you come to us before school is out if there's anything you want to change. You might have had the experience of having us tell you no in August. If it's on your course sheet, you are stuck, okay? So please be careful in doing that. So I'm going to show you now how you can contact your counselor and find out who your counselor is if you don't know, and then we're going to be all done. So at the heartlandhighschool.us counseling page, this is what you'll see. And when you scroll down, you'll see the counselors by alphabet here, so you can see who your counselor is. Our emails are all first, last name at heartlandschools.us. If you call this number, you'll be directed to the right person that way too. So you can email us, you can call the office, or you can stop by the counseling office and talk to us if you have any questions or anything comes up. Otherwise, we will be around if you have questions, and we will see you in February. So happy scheduling. We'll see you guys later.